This is what Alex Hormozi's Scale or Fail series taught me. Number one, so straight off the bat, easy. It taught me what an awesome insight it was. That is where we're starting. I genuinely sat there with like a pen and paper, not this one, but a pen and paper in hand, sort of staring at it and just wanting to watch more and more episodes, and something I was looking forward to just watching the next one of. And I feel like that doesn't happen too often. But it did for this. I honestly, Alex Hormozi, I've obviously heard the name, like he's big time. He's probably one of the, I was thinking to myself, do I call him like one of the biggest business minds right now? And like to me, he has to be, right? I feel like he has to be. So I'm calling him that. And to see him in real time, sort of just like analyze, I found a situation, tell him what he'd do, and just a lifetime reactions essentially was a really cool thing to me. So just that, straight off the bat, the insight was awesome. Number two, it taught me that knowing common business terms is a must, just a must. Now some of these might be super simple to others, and look, I did know of some of them, but I didn't know exactly, if someone asked me what they'd meant, I probably wouldn't be able to elaborate greatly. Let me round off a few. Commodity. Now, maybe that's obvious, I don't know. But a commodity, he was explaining it that it's essentially if a customer thinks of your product and someone else's product, your competitor's product, as the exact same thing, so the only thing that matters is the price. So pretty much, they're going to go with the cheapest, and that means it's a commodity. I just found that an interesting term, that there's actually a name for it, that it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what your product is, they view it exactly the same as the competitive, so they're just going to go with the cheapest. Simple as that. My mind straight away went to this was in like, that's a negative thing, but it depends what your business is. Maybe you do just want to fight for being the cheapest. I don't know. Next one, your funnel. Now, this to me is essentially how you go from getting a customer, like finding a customer or whatever, how you go from that to them making a purchase. So what is that journey? Great handwriting. Let's go customer finding. What is that actual journey? That's your funnel. It's almost like the process of it all, yeah? Now we get to some abbreviation terms, and this is I actually sort of enjoyed learning about this because Alex sort of used them in a really casual way. He just like whipped off like AOV, CAC, CAC. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But he elaborated, and they had nice little graphics that popped up to explain it. So that was helpful as well. What did I just say? AOV. What do you think that stands for? That is average order value. Basically, it speaks for itself. I don't need to explain it, but I will, because that's what I'm doing for myself and for my benefit and yours. Average order value is just literally, what's the average value of your orders? Say you sell t-shirts. Looking at some washing behind me, sell some t-shirts. What's the average amount that they're going to pay for a t-shirt? That's your average order value. Interesting, right? Cool. CAC. He kept referring, he just saying CAC. I was like, do the founders on there know what CAC is? But maybe they do. They probably should if they're in that spot, even though someone said that to me, I wouldn't be sure what it was. But it is customer acquisition cost. That basically means, what are you paying to get a customer? That question helps me understand it. By the way, these are all of this, bit of a blueprint vibe going on. Looks nice, right? I like it. Customer acquisition cost or CAC. Cool. UGC. Now, this is one I knew because this is my world. Content, the content game. User-generated content. What is that? Didn't spell that right? Doesn't matter. We move on. That's basically when, think of it like Nike. If a runner starts making Nike content, like content about Nike, how good their shoes are, or whatever, that's user-generated content because it's a user making content, but it leads back to the brand, or it is of another brand. It's user-generated, and that's great for brands, and we'll cover that a bit later, but that is one I knew, so tick, tick. Now, false offer. We move away from the acronyms a bit, so I'll come back over here. False offer. What is a false offer? It's not faking it, but it's essentially being intentional with the way you price one offer to make the customer or to influence the customer to go to your preferred offer, if you get me. I used to think of this as the 3 offer method, where you basically have your preferred method here, You got your preferred method there. So you purposely might make this one too high. Like you might price this one too high intentionally. And this one, I do the 3, like as I said, it's a 3 offer rule. So I do your preferred method in the middle. Your offer above that is too high, like you intentionally make it too high, and if they go for it, great, winning. Now you just make this offer. Actually, no, this is it. It reminds me of, this is why I do it, to remind myself. This offer is actually, it's close enough to the middle one that they might as well go to the middle one. That makes sense? Through my horrible writing, does that make sense? I think it does. You basically, if you have a preferred method, you chuck that in the middle. You make one above that too high. Just, it's going to be high anyway, but make it too high that it sounds crazy to them. Then you put the lower offer pretty damn close to the middle one, which is your preferred one, that they think, well, I might as well just go up. I might as well go to that preferred one. And that's smart to me. It reminds me of Boost Juice. Every single time I get a Boost Juice, they literally have a medium and original. Original is the larger one, so just call it medium and large. But the medium is literally 50 cents cheaper than the large. Every single time I have it, I'm like, well, I might as well go to the large. It's 50 cents. Maybe that's the false offer. That's actually why this stuff is cool, because it's like real life situations like that where you're just like, oh, maybe that's why they do it. And it's smart. It's not like, you might think you're trying to trick people, but it's kind of just being smart. Maybe you are trying to trick them, but at the end of the day, I get my big juice, my large juice. I get my large boost and I'm happy. Winning for all. Now, the last one of these is your avatar. Who the hell are you talking to? This is my avatar. Avatar is basically just who you're talking to. And this helps with your content a lot. Every time you're posting something, you're like, wait, am I posting to, like, who am I talking to? Am I posting to my avatar? You can give your avatar a name, Gerald. Does my content talk to Gerald all the time? Is Gerald going to be receptive of this content? Is Gerald going to accept what I'm offering him and, you know, buy this product off me? Don't know. My brother actually does that. He literally made AI generate an avatar or two for him, so he knows who he's talking to. So, pretty clever. I think it's quite good. The next thing Scale or Fail taught me was, it taught me that I should, or I need to be, thinking about ads a lot more than I am. I just do. This is on like Meta mainly, so Instagram, Facebook, but a paid ad is just like an afterthought for most businesses, because I tell you what, when I'm in my business, I've done like literally, what have I done? A handful, 4, 5, 6 tops in my time running business, and that has been like, I'll give this example later, but that was like an ebook that I released. I ran some paid ads for it because I thought it was a good idea. It's more targeted, you can do it that way. But Alex Hormozi was talking to this business owner who was running stickers, right? And he said to her, like, how many paid ads, right, are you running? And there's a few layers to this, but how many paid ads are you running, full stop? But how much ad volume are you running of that? And my mind was like, what do you mean by ad volume? Do you just mean like quantity? But he was saying not necessarily quantity. It's more like variations. It's like variations of the same, it's variations of the same offer. So it's essentially different types of creative for that same offer. The light's gone out, but we roll on. Anyway, this is about business, it's about learning, cool. It's about variations, like how many of different types of creative are you running for the same project? So, say you're doing a book launch. How many pieces of content are you posting that will lead back to that book? So you might have a carousel, you might have like testimonials, you might have UGC, we're learning new terms, even though I already knew that. Videos, like there's all these different types of content that you will post, but it all leads back to the same thing, if you get me. So that was really interesting to me. So it's not just one and done, which is what I essentially did. I referenced an ebook earlier. I made an ebook a few months ago, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna put some paid spend behind it. I did just that, but I did one literal graphic. One, that's it. I did one graphic and I was like, okay, cool, we'll see how that goes. Funny enough, didn't go too well, because even Alex was saying, like, most of these ads flop. Like, you have to really hit the right person at the right time and, you know, cater to their mood they're in, all that stuff. So that was very interesting. So I took from that is just like, more. Simple as that. Just post more ads and definitely the variation factor. He was saying to the lady to think about he's like, I want you to think in the hundreds. So in terms of hundreds of different types of creative that lead back to the same thing. 100 plus different variations, essentially, which is crazy, but that's how he's thinking. Also, I don't know if I heard this correctly, but he said, guess how much Alex Hormozi spends on ads? I'm pretty sure he said per day. This is wild. 50. 50 what? Dollars? No. 1,000? Don't know. No, keep going. He said he spends 500K per month on ads. I don't know if per day on ads. I don't know if I got that correct, but that's wild to me. I guess he's living in a different ballpark to the rest of us, but very interesting stuff. All right, look at that. It's beautiful. Next thing he taught me, it taught me to always think about how you can stand out. Because look, the reality is it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I'm in videography and photography, right? There's a lot of other people doing that. So he made a few mentions, and this was kind of across the 3 episodes. Different founders, different industries, so it's kind of good in that aspect. But there's so many things you can do to try to stand out because it's saturated. Speed. Number 1, I'd say, is speed. He's like, the number 1 thing that people are willing to pay for is speed. How quickly you can turn around products or content, or I mean, even content. I think about content in my world, but turn around jobs. Speed is huge. How you can stand out? Be trustworthy. What do I mean by that? He was saying, like, be trustworthy immediately so they trust you and go with you, essentially. How can you do that? Things like rocking up in person, like showing yourself in person, going on Zoom calls, showing your face, showing your personality, and that kind of leads to communication. I will harp on this for days. If you are a good communicator, I will trust you, probably, but maybe not fully, but I'm well on your way because it's a great thing. Price, obviously. These things are more obvious, but price and the quality of work that you do. But it's still interesting, like how can you actually use it to your advantage? Like price and quality sort of go hand in hand. Sometimes, like in people's minds, if you're cheap, they probably think the quality isn't as good, but can you prove that the quality is good? Those type of train of thoughts. It kind of gets your mind ticking, which is cool. Being super niche to stand out. Instead of selling productivity tools for people, sell productivity tools for mums that have just had their baby and they don't have much time on their hand. They don't have much time on their hand. That type of stuff. How can you be super niche? And do you want to be super niche? Because that is a way to stand out. Once again, if you find a productivity tool that's specific to mothers who just had a kid, and you are a mother who just had a kid, you are much more likely to trust that source than a generic productivity tool over there. Just interesting to think about. Your brand. The example he said, like, to me, I'm like, okay, that means your brand can just look really good. And it can. But he was just like, pink trucks. What does that mean? Basically, there was a removalist he was talking to, and that removalist had pink trucks. That's how you stand out. Hey, there's a pink truck down the street. I know that's X, Y, and Z removalist. Kind of funny, but true. And they're the main ones, but always think about how you can stand out because it's got to be a conversation in your mind because the competition these days, it feels like it's just getting more and more. So how can you be unique? Now, you can't be afraid to spend more. Just to spend full stop. You can't be afraid to spend. Now, I know I started my own business maybe 3 years ago, but I only started working full-time in it last year. But there is a weird thing that you don't want to spend, right? You just want to earn. But I've learned, and I continue to learn, that you can't do this. You can't be afraid. But you kind of just have to spend to earn more. So it's like they probably go hand in hand. If you want to earn more, if you have these big ass goals to reach, you probably just have to spend to get there. Where my mind is like, no, initially, and it probably still is, I still have to bridge that gap, but you want to be cautious with it. You're like, no, we have to be super cautious. But Alex obviously has heaps of experience, and he was just saying, no, like, just don't be afraid to spend, especially if your return is like above that. Yes, if you're making profit, what are you complaining about? And this kind of changed my perspective a bit. Let's go back to ads. This is a new perspective for me. If you run an ad, right? Run an ad versus I don't know, worth $3,000. You pay $3,000 to run a meta ad on Instagram and Facebook and be like, hey, cool, it's for like you might think that's a lot of money, but that ad is for an offer that's worth $500, okay? And from that ad, so from spending $3,000, you get 10 of these. You get 10 people signing up to that offer. So that's $5,000, right? So that's a profit of $2,000. So if essentially all you're doing is spending $3,000 on ads to get 10 customers, which gives you $5,000. So you're spending $3,000 to make $2,000. Like, doesn't that just make sense? Doesn't it just make sense to do this rather than just literally do nothing and just hope customers find you? That was my new perspective on this. And it also goes back to the CAC, like how much are you willing to pay for one customer? Because right now, I don't think the way I get my customers and jobs is there's nothing I pay for. I just sort of, it's all about networking and connections and them reaching out to you. I don't run ads to essentially get clients, but it opens up a whole different world of like, hey, should you target your ideal customer and all that stuff? So interesting. The last one is that people have more money than you think. He kept saying that to, I think, the same lady who was selling stickers or whatever. No, I think it was actually a different one, but he kept saying that in terms of like, put yourself first and charge what you're actually worth. Like, don't feel bad for this because people always have more money than you think. So that's an interesting one to finish that one on. All right, what have I got? All right, this is the sort of map of what Alex Hormozi's Scale or Fail taught me. But the last one it taught me is joy. I generally got a lot of joy from business methods because, I don't know, like it's not something I have dived into often. But when I was doing it, as I said at the start, like I literally really enjoyed just sitting down, properly focus and taking notes from it. So that's probably the main thing to take away from this series. And as I said, it's only episodes 1 to 3. So it's really intriguing to see I think he's got like 7 more episodes. That makes sense if you did an episode of, if you do an episode series of 10 episodes. So Scale or Fail. Have a look at it. Very interesting in real time to see how he thinks, and he is one of the best business minds in the world right now. Like, he's everywhere. So it'd be silly not to watch and pay attention to what he has to say.